When you focus on novelty over storytelling, you're going to run into issues in the long run. That's what we learned in the 90s, and hopefully we don't have to relearn that lesson entirely today. Welcome to Pesto Comics. This is the entry for October 15th, 2025. Blind bags, variant covers, and disturbing trends. Doing my best to read the tea leaves. Welcome back. If you don't already know me, my name's Adriano. I'm a comic book writer, letterer, crowdfunder, publisher, and I'm an author of some novellas and novels coming up in the new year as well, so I'm keeping myself pretty busy. You can find me all over the internet at Pesto Comics. That includes on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, and TikTok. If you follow me on one of those places, you can always keep up with everything that we've got going on with Pesto Comics. And more than anything, I'm a fan of comics. That's what got me into all of this. It's the only reason that I spend all of this time and effort and money trying to make comics myself, as I want to be part of this machine that I've been enjoying for years on end. So many years, in fact, that I've been reading since the 90s. What got me into comics was the death of Superman. It was the height of 90s era comics, with issue 75 just being splash page after splash page. It was a very art-forward way of storytelling, which I found so captivating, even though I'd never really picked up art myself, although I still continue to try. You think I wouldn't want to get into comics as a writer, given that it was so very art-forward, and the storytelling wasn't exactly the highlight of 90s era comics. A lot of the stories weren't even that much of a story, it was just excuses to draw really cool things. That said, some of the stories that were being told were some of the biggest risks you've seen in comics. They killed Superman. They broke Batman's back. There are a bunch of amazing things happening in the 90s that it does feel like we're returning to with comics today. That said, not everything that we're coming back to is a good thing. Although I may seem like I'm complaining about all this, and don't get me wrong, that's exactly what I'm doing, I'm also a big part of the problem. I was at the DC booth at New York Comic Con this weekend, and I couldn't help myself. I got this convention edition of the DCKO blind bag, and we'll be opening this at the end of the video. I don't even know what's in here. It's still very much sealed, so you can't even see inside, and I'm curious what's in it. And that's part of the problem. It's the mystery. It's the gambling. That's going to get us all in, but it's also something that crashed the market back in the 90s. So I don't know that it's a great idea, but I'm also part of the problem by encouraging them to do more of these as I went and picked up my own edition of it. So all these blind bags and variant covers, they're all fueled by FOMO. That's the only reason that any of these things work. And it's interesting to me is it cuts two ways, both as a reader and as a creator. Part of me wants to jump in with both feet and take advantage of this trend. And another part just doesn't want me to burn fans for just wanting the cover that they like and being able to select it as a reward tier. So there's a lot of thought to go into it as an indie creator. So for those of you who aren't familiar with this new blind bag boom we're through, let's just do a quick recap of everything that's been out there. We started with the Battle Beast blind bag. That kind of proved the theory out to the big two that if you did a blind bag, you could sell a lot of extra copies. We've been doing ratioed variants for a while that would force retailers to buy 100, 1,000, any number of a certain version of a comic so that they can get access to buy this variant cover that they can then sell for hundreds of dollars for one issue. And everybody knew that that wouldn't last forever. So the blind bag came in and kind of proved that there's another way to get the same effect without even having to promise a specific amount or a specific cover. Instead, you just would sell a bunch of blind bags and hope that you might get this. We've effectively turned what was a sure incentive into gambling for both the retailer and the reader. DC followed suit with Batman #1. The ratios were a little lower here, so you had a really good chance of getting a decent cover, even if it was more just a difference of a regular cover with a foil cover and things like that. And now we have Marvel jumping in with the True Believers blind bag. What's interesting here is they're including some one-to-one sketches. That means there's one version of the sketch out there included in random blind bags. So you'll never really know which one is going to have this super exclusive variant available. That's all I'm seeing right now in the future, but I'm sure there's more to come as they've proven to do really well. And what's concerning about all this is the same thing as the ratio variants. It's all fake inflation. It's all fake numbers with people just trying to hit these variants so that they can resell them. And you have to believe at some point that the value of these will go down the more and more that they do it. So hopefully it's just a special thing that comes out every once in a while, and we're not going to see a new blind bag coming out every month. The point is, when you focus on novelty over storytelling, you're going to run into issues in the long run. That's what we learned in the 90s, and hopefully we don't have to relearn that lesson entirely today. But it's entirely possible that I'm wrong. Maybe it's something that I should be doing as an indie. And this is what audiences want. This is what they're willing to pay for, and they're telling me as an indie creator that maybe I should jump in. I don't have the budget of DC or Marvel to experiment with this kind of thing, and I don't know that speculators are terribly interested in my indie comic that already has a low print run. If there's ever going to be a future where Naked Kaiju Woman is worth a ton of money because it only had a small print run back in the day, and now I'm doing Batman and Superman and Spider-Man and all that stuff, and having first print runs of my original work somehow becomes worth money, that's a huge, huge gamble. I'm not expecting that, and I doubt anyone else is. So is it worth it as an indie to even do any of that? I don't know that I'm willing to give it a shot. If you watch the video from last week about print runs, you know why. It gets very expensive very quickly when you're trying to do these bespoke items. So if I had the budget of a Warner Brothers or Disney behind me, I would be trying all kinds of different things, and I respect the big two for actually doing that. Yes, maybe it's harkening back to days where we ran into a lot of trouble for really leaning into it too much, but as a thing we're going to do once in a while, I think it's totally okay to do a blind bag. As an indie, though, I don't know if it's really worth it. Please tell me otherwise. If it's something that you would like to see, I would love to know. I'm more than happy to do super exclusive runs, have just 20 of one variant cover out there. If that's something you're into, I would be all for it. I just don't want anyone to feel taken advantage of when they back one of my campaigns. Although I always offer variant covers on my campaigns, I always make them very close to the main cover so that it's just a choice that you're making, that you prefer cover A over cover B or C. I don't want you to feel like you're being taken advantage of in any real way. And yes, although the variant covers always cost $1 or $2 more than the regular cover, that's just to recoup the cost of hiring the artist for the variant cover. So it's really only an extra $1 or $2, and I'm not trying to get rich off of an artist's hard work. My goal isn't to create some kind of speculation or to say that my 1 in 10 copy of this book is going to be worth some kind of money. As we all know, if you've been in comics for any time at all, you know that most comics don't end up holding their value. You should get them because you enjoy them. You should get them because you want to support the creators behind them, not because you're expecting to pay off your car or your mortgage with them. That's not a realistic thing, and it's not something we should be encouraging. The key thing is transparency. I'm not above doing exclusives. A lot of the stretch goals that I've done, including digest variants of Crazy Latte Thing Called Love and hardcovers of Big Smoke Pulp, were Kickstarter exclusive variants. I did not give them out in any other way. They were available only during the campaign, and I never printed them again. And that's something that I'll keep doing going forward. Even with the next campaign, Big Smoke Pulp Volume 2, it's going to have exclusive hardcovers available that you'll only be able to get during the campaign. And if you want to grab them, make sure you go to the pre-launch page on Kickstarter right now so that you don't miss the campaign when it comes. And that's the main thing. I'm still trying to take advantage of the same FOMO that blind bags and all these other things are doing. I'm just using Kickstarter and the finite timed campaign to create the same FOMO that you would with getting a blind bag and hoping that you're getting a variant cover. So I'm obviously not above any of these tactics. They've been proven to work. And who am I to say that any marketing technique is above me? I'm just trying to sell some comics so that I can make more comics and I can get more artists working and putting these stories together. So if I have to sell out here and there and do exclusive things that are only available during certain times, so be it. So it's something I'm certainly going to continue doing, and I don't begrudge anyone else for trying. My only worry here is the health of the industry as a whole. It really does feel like the death throes of the print era. And I know we've been saying this forever, that comics are dying, that print is dying. But when we're trying things that we know don't work long term, it really feels like we're grasping now. We're just not thinking of how print can progress beyond what we've always been doing. Maybe focusing on floppies is the wrong way. I've talked about it before, that the way that the industry focuses on floppies and the way that they decide what series will live and what series will die is based on how the print floppies are sold is something that we have to reevaluate. Maybe print becomes like vinyl, and it's something that those people that want to show that extra level of support to an artist or creator, that's how they will do it. The majority of people will be reading digitally, but the true fans will be getting special editions and variant covers and the blind bags and all these things. And maybe those two markets are what keep this whole thing afloat. I don't know for sure. There's a number of ways this can go. And I just hope that we're not going to just follow down the same path that we had before and really focus on speculation as the thing that holds the market up. It can certainly be a piece of it, and it probably always will, but I just hope that we're not focusing on it too much. I can say that there is a difference between now and the 90s. There is a focus on storytelling. There is a focus on the long-term thinking of these stories. You can see that with the Ultimate Universe and how it's coming to an end. It's a great example of this was always the plan. And yes, the Ultimate Universe is doing really well. And yes, we could keep it going for another 2 to 3 years until it fizzles out and people get over it. But there was always an ending in mind, and now we're going to get that ending. You can argue whether or not it should have been called the Ultimate Universe based on that and not something else, so that there isn't this expectation that it's a continuing, ongoing universe. But at least they're allowing the story that wants to be told. And that's what really matters at the end of the day. And they're not focusing on just trying to make the most money they can out of this. So I have a couple more pieces of advice before we crack open that DCKO blind bag. So for the collectors, only buy what you enjoy. Don't expect to make any of your money back. That's what got us into trouble last time, and that's what we want to avoid this time. So as a collector, just get what you like. If you enjoy blind bags, you enjoy the game of it, go for it. You might end up just sitting on multiple copies of the same book if you get too deep into it. So definitely have some fun, but don't expect too much out of it. And for the indie creators, don't get sucked into the hype. Fans are very hard to come by, and you don't want to have to go get a new set of fans every time you launch something. If you have the type of audience that is into all of these things, by all means, give them what they're asking for. But if you're a new creator trying to build your audience, don't get sucked into the hype. Do things that you know your audience wants. And if you're still trying to figure that out, keep it simple, and it doesn't hurt to ask either. They don't always tell you outright, but you'll see it over time. Try things, experiment, see what works, drop what doesn't. Just make sure to take care of your audience and don't burn them with too many gimmicks. You can do as many cool things as you want. Just be transparent about all of it. At least I always try to be, both here and with my campaigns. Thanks for being here while I do. And now, before we go, let's open that blind bag. So I have this right here. I set up 2 cameras just for the fun of it. Let's see how it goes. So I'm doing this all live. I may not make any sense as I open it. I don't even know what I'm opening right now. I know it's DCKO number 1. And the big thing about all of these videos that I've watched is I'm also having the same problem opening it that most of the people I've watched online have had, and I'm trying really not to destroy the bag too much. I could grab some scissors, but I'm not going to do that. So let me just make sure I'm not going to pinch any corners when I open this. Being a collector, I'm probably going to keep the bag itself as well. Anyways, so let's look at what is, you're going to get the look even before I do. And let's just make sure that the corners aren't pinching. Come on. Okay, so I have no idea what is to come. Let's do this together. All right. Oh, looks like the Daniel Warren Johnson edition, and it's a foil. You can see it's shiny. That's really cool. I'm in. Yes, Daniel Warren Johnson and Mike Spicer variant cover. Cool, cool, cool. So, as I was saying, yeah, blind bags, silly, very silly, and yet I'm kind of happy about this. This is a really cool cover. I'm very happy with what ended up popping out of this. So that's a cool cover. Given everything I've done with From Parts Unknown and all the wrestling stuff, I'm really happy with this result. If you ever read Do a Powerbomb too with Daniel Warren Johnson, you know that he does some really cool wrestling stuff. So this is an awesome one to have. Of course, having Superman Darkseid on the front too is something I'm really into. So, as I was saying, blind bags, very silly, and there's kind of the proof on the back. Blind bags are kind of a silly thing. They always seem to have one at Fan Expo, which I always enjoy getting, and now I got this one at New York Comic Con. So, as much as I may have seemed like I was complaining about it, I'm very much part of the problem. And yeah, I'm kind of happy with my result. That doesn't always happen. That was new to me. A lot of times that I get these blind bags, it's more of disappointment than anything. I get a regular cover out of it. It's cool to see that I actually got something a little different this time around. So happy to see that. But again, it's gambling, right? So you're going to hit the slot machine every once in a while, and it'll keep you coming for more the next time. So don't be surprised if I end up getting more blind bags in the future, and that's what happens. All that said, I'm glad you're here to join me. That was a lot of fun. So before I go, I want to give you a little preview of what's coming up in the next couple posts. Next post is the Con Journal for New York Comic Con. It was a lot of fun, and I have a lot to share, so we'll talk about all that next week. And then on Saturday is a paid post. That is going to be talking about Comic Con strategies, so we're keeping the whole theme of conventions and all that going. New York Comic Con is technically the last con that I'm going to, though I'll be at Mississauga Comic Con with Roberto at his table, but as far as me personally going on my own, that's the last one. New York is the last one, so I kind of have a view of what the strategy might be, not just for myself, but what you might think of, whether it's worth going as an attendee or if you should actually spring the money and get a table. With that, I want to thank you for being here. If you're listening, I always appreciate you if you listen or if you watch. However you choose to follow everything that's going on with Pesto Comics, I appreciate you. Until next time.